Mr. President, Excellencies, I welcome this opportunity to address the Security Council on cooperation between the United Nations and the Collective Security Treaty Organization, CSTO, the Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, in maintaining international peace and security. As the Secretary General has repeatedly emphasized, cooperation with regional and sub-regional organizations, as enshrined under Chapter 8 of the United Nations Charter, is at the core of the UN's work, particularly as it relates to the maintenance of peace and security. The founders of the United Nations recognized the necessity of collective efforts to ensure peace in an increasingly complex world. It requires partnership across all levels, from the local to the national to the regional to the global. Now, more than ever, a more effective United Nations relies on stronger and deepened cooperation with regional and sub-regional organizations, including the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Commonwealth of Independent States, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Today, the stakes for international peace and security could not be higher. Tensions and competition among states challenge the principles set out in the UN Charter, resulting in lost trust, new conflicts, and the risks of escalation and spillover, affecting all regions, including Eurasia. This also impacts our ability to respond effectively to challenges worldwide. Mr. President, the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Commonwealth of Independent States, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization have all been and remain important players for the United Nations. Over the years, we've enhanced our partnerships with all three organizations in line with Chapter 8 of the UN Charter. We have improved consultations through regular contacts at all levels. The Secretary General's direct engagements with his CSTO, CIS, and SCO counterparts are supported by continuous interactions by UN regional offices and liaison personnel to further strengthen our cooperation. We have formalized frameworks for cooperation, which lay out a concrete program of work to deepen our partnership. We have strengthened cooperation in the field between our respective envoys, particularly in support of peace processes and preventive diplomacy engagements. In this work, we have been guided by biennial resolutions of the General Assembly, which welcome and note with appreciation the growing partnerships with the CSTO, CIS, and SCO, including in response to regional peace and security challenges. We commend the ongoing efforts by the Secretariat and members of the Collective Security Treaty Organization to enhance cooperation between our two secretariats in peacekeeping, also to ensure wider participation in UN peace operations around the world. We also value the important platform for regional dialogue and cooperation on a range of priority issues, including related to regional peace and security, provided by the Commonwealth of Independent States. During his recent participation in the summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization on 3 to 4 July in Astana, the Secretary General highlighted the important role of the SCO as the largest regional organization in addressing today's global challenges. The Astana Declaration, the main outcome document of the recent summit, inter alia, stressed the central role of the United Nations in strengthening international cooperation. We aim to further strengthen cooperation with the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Commonwealth of Independent States, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in areas of mutual priority, including in peace and security, focusing on early warning, preventive diplomacy, peacekeeping, as well as further implementation of the Women, Peace and Security and Youth Peace and Security agendas. Mr. President, as we meet today, the Eurasian region faces rising tensions and emerging threats that require joint action, urgent joint action. These threats and challenges range from security, such as preventing violent extremism and countering terrorism, drug trafficking, and unresolved border issues, to those relating to the impact of climate change, including accelerated melting of glaciers and water scarcity, increasingly affecting the countries in the region and requiring pragmatic collaboration. In Central Asia, a key priority region for our organizations, the United Nations Regional Center for Preventive Diplomacy for Central Asia actively engages with the leadership of all three organizations to discuss and coordinate preventive efforts. This includes engagement in support of the implementation of the United Nations Global Counterterrorism Strategy in the region. We also focus on the impact of developments in Afghanistan on regional stability and seek opportunities to advance international engagement in a more coherent, coordinated, and structured manner. Regarding Ukraine, as the Secretary General noted on various occasions, it is time for a just peace based on the UN Charter, international law, and General Assembly resolutions. The United Nations is ready to support all meaningful efforts and initiatives towards this end. Mr. President, the Secretary General's policy brief on a new agenda for peace outlines actions to promote diplomacy for peace, the rebuilding of trust, and adherence to the UN Charter principles. Regional and sub-regional organizations have a critical role to play in this regard. They can bring credibility and legitimacy. They can help increase trust and reduce misperceptions. They can invest in prevention and provide mechanisms for crisis management and conflict resolution. In the face of growing competition at the global level and increasing transnational threats, regional frameworks and organizations can offer much-needed avenues for bridge building and trust building. Strengthening regional frameworks for dialogue and cooperation is essential in regions where long-standing security architecture and mechanisms are collapsing or mired in stalemate, or where they have never existed. As the new Agenda for Peace recognizes, the member states of the United Nations have the responsibility and the means to meet the obligations entrusted to them by the United Nations Charter. The upcoming Summit of the Future represents an important opportunity to address fundamental challenges to multilateralism. As a high-level political declaration to be adopted by heads of state and government, the Pact for the Future can reinforce the continued necessity of regional cooperation to address threats to multilateralism. We look forward to the active participation of members of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, the Commonwealth of Independent States, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in this pivotal summit coming up in September. I thank you.